All right, welcome back, Joe Kelly, Coach Kelly. How are we doing?
Tim, the good news game plan is back. I am so happy to be doing this again. I did miss kind of hanging out with you and sharing some stories about what's going on in Greenwich, but we're back for the primary edition. We're going to go over a little stuff about what's going on in town. We brought the show and we have some great guests. We have, of course, my wife, Jill. She will be joining us on the show. We have Mike Pacino, we have Mike Hahn, we have Lisa Edmondson, and we have Steve Wazoa, all fine members of our Republican Party, all competing for spots in the RTC in the upcoming primaries. What we're going to do a little bit is talk to them about it. But Tim, do you have any questions about these unique events that are going on right now with the primaries in town with the Republican Party?
Well, that was why I tuned in tonight, and I was excited to connect with you. And I said we have to do another show so that we can get this out there and figure out why people are voting in March. It just seemed like such an odd thing. I only vote on St. Patrick's Day in March, for another Guinness. That's the most voting I've ever done in a March.
Exactly. It's unique. It's a very unique event. I think it was 2 years ago. They had one of these primaries in District 1 because they had a dispute within the district. And now we have it going on in 5 different districts. What we had is the usual every 2 years, the RTC gets together and they vote for the members that will represent the Republicans in the town of Greenwich in the Republican Town Committee. So what happens is each district, the 12 different districts, all get together in a caucus and try to figure out who, whether it's 5 or 6 members of that district, will actually represent the interests of all the Republicans in that district. So in this year, we had, actually, let me bring the story back to 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had a group come in. Well, maybe we'll call it the dark of night. They came in and they kind of took over the RTC. But let me be crystal clear. They did not break any rules. They played
Right.
by the rules. They came in, they took it over fair and square, and they've run it over the last 2 years. Now, I guess we're kind of pushing back a little bit. Now it's our turn, and we want equal representation in the leadership of the RTC. So right now, the caucuses went on. They were disputed. We'll talk further about that in a little bit. And 5 of the 12 caucuses were disputed. And now we have primaries to settle those. So that might be a little confusing, but some of the guests that we have coming on could help us explain that. So let's bring Jill Kelly on, who's representing, my wife, Jill, of course, who's representing D2. Jill, welcome. It's always good to have you on the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, come on, please.
Welcome.
Now, besides myself, which I guess people know who I am, my service on the Board of Education, coach of the Greenwich High School rugby team, and volunteer for about a million other things. Always happy to serve our community. I guess you don't have to describe me, but you have 3 other members on your slate. Could you please give us some good news on your team?
Well, starting with me, I'm a mom of 4, and of course, Joe's wife. And I've been very involved in town for a long time. We've lived here about 25 years, maybe more than 25 years. I think it's 27 now, and have 4 children. I've been PTA president. I've been a realtor with Sotheby's International Real Estate, and I've been a realtor for it'll be 24 years this year. So quite a while. And and then Jill Barilli is also in real estate. And she's a mom in town as well, and has been involved in the PTA and PTA president, which, if anyone's done that, it's a lot of work and you got to be there all the time. And it's just, it's a lot of fun. You get to meet everyone. You get to know a lot of people. And then her husband is a great person too. He's, people know him. He's in a band in town. He's involved with the Indian guides and princesses. And he used to be, actually. He's not at this moment. But, they're just great people. Scott Diddell, he's another great community person who's involved in a lot of things. He was a troop master for 17 years for his 3 boys, and they all became Eagle Scouts. And now he's got 2 little grandchildren. I'm sure he'll get involved with those guys too. And he's got his company, Diddell and Diddell. He does financial coaching. and he started 32 years ago. He started Baskets from Heaven, and it's a charity where he has fed and given baskets for Thanksgiving and Christmas to over 100,000 families since it started. So pretty impressive. These people do a lot of good work in our town, and they're really good people, and they know how to work together as team players with other people. So we're very happy to be running with them, and looking forward to hopefully be working with them too.
Well, I'm a little biased, but that sounds like a great group. So I'm looking forward to the primary on the 5th. Voting will take place where, Jill?
And we have Joe with us. Did you say that already?
I did.
I left you out.
That's okay. Where will we be voting?
Voting is March 5th, Tuesday, all day from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And our voting location is Town Hall. Just like a regular election, you'll go and there'll be voting booths and everything there, which will be great. So, and if you're not going to be in town that day, you can vote absentee ballot. And, get your ballots in, I guess, up until the 4th, I think it is. So.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, Jill. Appreciate it. And I look forward to standing outside of Town Hall on the 5th in the cold of winter. That's going to be a unique experience from 6 in the morning to 8 at night, standing there and greeting all the wonderful people in District 2 that will be coming and voting for us. So
I just want to make one comment that this is actually a really great warm-up for the elections in November. So this is awesome.
I don't know if you could put warm and voting in March in the same sentence, but you managed to do so in some
We will.
Thank you. Well, thanks, Jill. Thanks for coming on. We're going to have Mike Hahn pop in here if we have him still in the green room. Mike Hahn, are you still there?
Coach, yes, sir.
Fantastic. Mike, tell me your take on this. You wrote a piece in the publications about the importance of primaries. So give us a little bit on the importance of primaries and tell us about your slate in District 5.
Well, Tim just mentioned that he didn't know if people voted in March. And that's a big thing because about 90% of our government is determined outside of Election Day. So primaries are basically the playoffs of politics. It's when you go up against members of your own party in order to represent the ballot line in November. And that's what we're doing here. And the most important thing to realize about primaries are they matter very much. We're witnessing, there's a big news coming tonight about the primary that's taking place in Michigan for it's a landmark primary for presidential, even though it's kind of predetermined it's going to be Trump and Biden. It's very interesting to see how they're going to place in their respective columns, because as the primary goes, the general election is going to follow. And what I mean by that is that we're involved in a primary right now in order to represent the Republicans in town on the Republican Town Committee. There are a couple different kinds of primaries. This is a primary post-caucus. So it depends on how your candidates are selected in terms of what each term means. But as we were saying, as I mentioned Tim's thing, we don't know that these things are occurring, yet they determine our government for the most part. Because out of like 435 U.S. House seats, 400 of them are either solid Republican or solid Democrat, meaning that the only competitive aspect is the primary itself. And the people that come out for primaries, which are generally held the second or third week of August, in the middle of the summer when people are on vacation, nobody's paying attention, those are the people that determine who's going to represent each party line. And if you take a House district like the Bronx, where AOC is the congresswoman, she's not going to lose to a Republican, but she could lose to another Democrat. And only about 15% of those Democrats are going to show up for that election. So,
well, these primaries sound they're quite important, and I think it's a great lesson for our community to go through this primary we're working on right now, because, as you said, they go unnoticed at times, and they're quite important. So it's nice at least we get to understand what a primary is in our local area, in our districts, in our local area. So that's cool.
Joe,
so Mike,
as you mentioned, I'm saying, as you mentioned, as the universe of possible voters gets smaller, so does the outside influence of either aggressive or fringe aspects. So it tends to shift a little bit more towards the right or the left during these primaries.
Right.
So that's how come you're seeing a lot of this discussion around, who's a Republican and who's a rhino or all this crap, just like you would have heard in this were a Democratic primary, who's not progressive enough or who's not a true
Right.
liberal.
Well, we're hoping that the regular Republican comes out and votes and decides who's going to represent them in the RTC. So we're looking forward to that. But Mike, tell me a little.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the 5 of us that are running in our district, even though there's been a lot of noise and a lot of discussion about that people are outsiders trying to take over, we're not. The 5 of us actually span the political spectrum. So you got myself, Jerry Sincata, Andy Deuce, Mark Johnson, and Paul Olmsted. And even though we pretty much look similar in demographic, we have very different ideologies. So I'm not really here to share ideology that much, because that's not my thing. I like talking about politics.
Right.
We can talk about the ideology later, but the actual process of getting elected, that I think is what we're in the process of right now. And that's why it's so important for people to participate in this.
Well, Andy Deuce, I worked on the Havemeyer committee with and developing or putting a plan together for fixing that building in disrepair. He's a great leader. He led that committee. You have some really, really strong people on your in your district. So we're hopefully that you guys will prevail and get the message out to the people, and hopefully they hear the message and understand it's important that the RTC is represented by or the whole of the Republican Party has representatives in the RTC, not just a small group. So and that's where we're pushing for. As you pointed out, you've got a diverse in ideology group of people, and putting them forward to lead our party or make decisions on behalf of candidates for our party is important. So great. Hey Tim, do we have Mike Pacino in the green room?
I believe so. Let's bring him in.
Let's bring him
Hey.
in. Hello, Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, my
seen
friend?
that face
Mike
in a while.
on for your presentation. Mike represents District 4, and everybody knows Mike Pacino and his what he's accomplished in local politics. What's your take on these primaries, Mike? You, in your long time serving, have you ever experienced these primaries like this before?
No, this is a first. This is interesting. This basically will give you a good understanding of the people that you were talking about that have come in to this RTC a couple of years ago and just kind of turned everything upside down. So this is what happens. You get people who are, sour grapes when they lose and then go and petition. And here we are, where the town of Greenwich is now having to pay for primary. So,
well, let's go over the petition process, because I find this all intriguing. What happened is the caucuses were held, and 5 of the 12 districts were not satisfied with the outcome, it seems, but really it was 3 of the 12 districts first tried to overturn the other side's victories, and then in return, 2 of the other side, or in this case our side, decided to primary them in reaction to them primarying 3 of us. Is that the way it happened?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Basically, after the results came in that evening, you do have an option to petition, and here we are. We've had more districts petition than I ever thought would have ever happened. But at the end of the day, you're all Republicans. You were always raised, at least I was, if you lose, you brush yourself off, you stand behind the person who's, been elected, and you try to get behind them. But apparently that's not good enough for this group. So here we are, and it's democracy at its best.
Exactly. It's fantastic. But it's interesting to watch it all unwrap and unfold. And who else do you have in your district running with you, Mike?
Oh, we've got a great group. We were victorious, all 5 of us. Andrea Bloom is a wonderful woman, lives here in Byram. Josh Brown, and we have the superpowered team of Paul Capielli and Lisa and Victoria Capielli, husband and wife. So they're going to do great things along with myself. We were victorious, and the individuals who were seated prior to didn't believe that that we could do the job that we can. And myself, it being, coming from representing the 150th district up in Hartford. Long time, lived here my entire life. I think I did a pretty good job, and I think these guys are going to do fantastic. Paul was instrumental in Freddie Camillo's campaign, and we stand behind our number one Republican in town, and that's kind of the difference between what we're bringing to the table is the true old-fashioned conservative Greenwich values that attracted so many to this town. And we're going to bring that back into play come this primary.
Well, Mike, one thing I really enjoyed when we all got together after the caucuses and discussed that we competed on, we lost some, we won some. But as we summed up the number of delegates, we realized it looked pretty even. So I think what excited most of us was the fact that we would have representation on the leadership, and that we don't want to take over the party. We wanted to have representation because the bigger the tent, the more likely we will get our candidates elected. So let's have a diversification in leadership. And I was looking forward to that. Now the primaries are here, so hopefully we can again have at least some degree of representation in the leadership, and that's kind of, I guess, what we're all trying to get in these individual primaries.
No, 100%. I mean, that's the thing. That's what makes the Republican Party so great. You can have different ideologies from one end of the spectrum, but you all come together for a common goal, and that's, for lower taxes and common sense politics. We're going to have a tough enough time as it is, moving forward down the road. We have not only presidential election coming up, but we've also got our state representatives, and our wonderful state senator that needs to be reelected. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it can't just be one way or the other. We've got to sit down at the table and try to work together. I was hopeful after that evening that we had, like you said, the opportunity, because it's kind of nice when you get a little bit of a split in, people's beliefs and whatnot. But it is what it is, and here we go on March 5th. Let's see what happens, and chips fall where they may. But hopefully we can, at the end of the day, come together as a Republican Party and make sure we get the right people in office.
Well, perfect. Thank you, Mikes, the plural Mikes, for a great input on this. So many people are confused. We're all Republicans, and we're fighting with our fellow Republicans. It doesn't make any sense. But I like the fact that our group is certainly running a positive campaign, and I hope we continue to do the same. Continue to do so. So thanks very much for coming. We're going to have Lisa Edmondson.
Thank you, buddy.
See you later, guys. Bye, Mikes.
Thanks, Mike.
And Steve Wazoa come on. So can we have? Do we still have them, Tim?
Yes.
Lisa. Oh, perfect. There's Lisa. Hello, Lisa. And
Hi.
Steven, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, everybody.
Good.
Hi.
Lisa.
Welcome.
Excellent. Well, Lisa's representing District 8. So, Lisa, I did not know you prior to this wonderful primary we're running through right now. So as much as it's a little extra work for some folks, meeting some really good, nice people is such an attribute, such a good part of this. What some people might be saying is a bit of a hassle, but I find it fun meeting great people. Lisa's one of those people. I've got to talk to her the other day at a gathering we had and found out a little about her, and she's fantastic. So, Lisa, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, then talk about your slate, if you could.
Well, this is a great opportunity. I agree that getting ready for November, this having an opportunity to really kind of shore up our party is a wonderful opportunity. So great. I'm looking at this as a positive, and it's been a great deal of fun getting to know new people. And I grew up in Greenwich and joined the Republican Party when I was 18. I was very involved in YGOP, and then left town to go to college. And when I came back to have my kids, I've been a part of volunteering in many different organizations in town, and got involved in the Republican Party and RTM. I guess this is my third term on RTM. My dad had been in RTM, and he'd been chair of the RTC years and years ago. He actually ran, interesting story, he ran for state treasurer. In the it was between Chris Shays and Rich and my dad, and my dad threw the Darien contingent for Shays, and that got Shays his first term in office. So my team really psyched. They're all parents and raised their kids in Greenwich. Kids went to Greenwich schools, involved in many different capacities, from PTA to Janet and Mike Freeheight are, Mike especially, very involved in kids sports with all of their kids. I think there are 4 of them. I know 2 of them because they were friendly with my kids, 2 of my boys. I have 3 children who also went through Greenwich Public Schools, very active in sports. And actually, my daughter also went to Sacred Heart, so we had a little sprinkling of both public and private in our household. And then, of course, there's Karen from the Cascaber, Karen Vizio St. Philip, who grew up in town, and Dina Urso, also, who grew up in town and had a family business, has a family business in town. It's a great group. We're having a lot of fun. Going door to door has been really fabulous, getting to know more of my neighbors, which I had done before with RTM campaigning, but kind of stuck more to like Boatacres, Valleywood, Burge, kind of over in my neighborhood, sort of. And so I've expanded outside of that and met a lot of new people. It's been just awesome hearing the issues, and mostly people are talking about schools, which I find fascinating. So not surprising, but also fascinating.
Well, as you know, I've been involved in schools for the last 4 years, and it is a passion of mine to make these schools better. And I'm happy to have been involved in a lot of these projects that we've accomplished. I know that one I was incredibly proud of because I brought it through soup to nuts is the Cardinal Stadium, and that was great that we got that. It's just a little bit better than every other stadium in the state of Connecticut. Now, being a fiscally conservative, I don't want to go too lavish on things, but we are Greenwich, Connecticut. And there it is, Tim. There's Cardinal Stadium. And I'm proud of that project because we got it in ahead of schedule and under budget. And it's the envy every crowd. I coached for many, many years, and I've been a sideline parent for all 4 of our kids and 3 of our foster kids that we brought in when they were at Greenwich High School. So we saw 1 million games, and we went to 1 million stadiums, and ours is a little bit better than everybody else's. So we're proud of that. But Lisa, thank you.
Pretty nice, Joe.
Oh, it's awesome. I'm so proud. But Lisa, thank you for your take. You go deep into republicanism in our town. That's Greenwich republicanism. And that's the important thing. That's what we really have to really pay attention to and focus on. So thanks for that. And then there's Steve Warzoa. You do a little bit in the field of politics, don't you? Could you explain about what we're going through right now and how excited and happy you are to be part of this?
Well, thank you again, guys, for having me, Tim and Coach Kelly and Lisa and the Mikes who were on before.
Yeah. Don't forget Jill. She'll be angry.
And Jill, absolutely. Where's I know Jill had to leave. She's my favorite Kelly. No one tells Joe that.
You're not alone there.
This is a really, really exciting opportunity for all Greenwich Republicans. I've always said that in Greenwich, Republicans don't win just because we're right on the issues. We win because at the end of the day, we are the big tent party. We act like we're better people. We're the ones who act like the adults in the room. And as we've seen the body politic nationally, statewide, locally begin to change, Greenwich has always had that unique place that win or lose, us as Republicans have always acted again as the adults and been the real true thought leaders, the real true party of inclusiveness in this town, especially. As several people have said, this is a gear up towards November. The fact that so many of us are out doing doors and making phone calls is really, keeping our claws sharp for a really, really important election in November, not just from a national stage, but the most important job of the Republican Town Committee here in Greenwich and in all of the 168 other communities in Connecticut is to nominate, support, and elect candidates for local office. That doesn't just include our amazing first selectman, Fred Camillo, or our amazing select woman, Lauren Rabin, who happens to be one of the people who who was elected to the caucus in my district. She was the highest vote getter, which is not surprising because everyone loves Lauren Rabin. It's also, again, about electing our state representatives and electing, more importantly, re-electing our state senator, Ryan Fazio. We must have a larger voice in Hartford. As Greenwich goes, so does most of the rest of the state. The representation that we're seeing up in Hartford now from the 3 Democrat state representatives that represent us in the different parts of Greenwich is not conducive to who we are as a community. We need to do better. We need to nominate the best possible candidates who are the most conservative candidates. And again, that means different things in different parts of the state, different parts of the country, and here, even in different parts of Greenwich. Some things that may work in, my state legislative district, which is the 149th, may not work as well in Joe's district, which is the 150th, or Lisa's district, which is the 151st. But at the same time, as long as Republicans continue to drive the message and we continue to lead and we continue to work together, we will be extremely, extremely successful in November.
As usual, Steve, I love your passion. And the good thing is we can certainly debate who makes the best state representatives from the Republican Party, whether they're more conservative, less conservative, more fiscally responsible, less. I mean, those are great debates we have as a party. But the good thing is we have different views as a party, and we pull together and we put forward those candidates which best represent all our interests. What I'd like you to do, Steve, is if you could talk a little about your running mates, your slate. And give me a little breakdown on them, because I know you're very friendly with that group. It's a great bunch.
So absolutely, I know. Fred Camillo has always said, the heart of Greenwich is in Coscob, especially in District 8. No offense to my dear friend, First Selectman Fred Camillo or Lisa, but I believe that the heart of Greenwich really is District 9. It's Pemberwick. And it's Glenville. It is a passionate community of mainly longtime residents who have been here multiple generations. We have, like I said, we have Lauren Rabin, our current select woman, the second highest elected official in the town of Greenwich and the highest ranking elected Republican woman in the town of Greenwich. She has won 4 competitive elections for select woman and for the Board of Education. Lauren served on the RTM for a number of years. She served on the board of what is now Human Services. She served on the Board of Ed very successfully. And she's transitioned that to being a real true leader, an ombudswoman for the town of Greenwich. We also have Pam Pagnani, who is a well-known, dedicated realtor and passionate volunteer for so many different causes in town. We also have Patty DeFelice, who's a multi-generation District 9 resident. She's a small business owner. She knows what meeting a payroll looks like. She knows what working every single day looks like. And she also gives her time on the RTM. She was actually the highest vote getter in District 9 on the RTM in the last election. We are joined as well by Barbara Derula, who is longtime Greenwich resident. She lives here in Pemberwick. She grew up and raised her kids here. She is a multi-business owner. She is also a YWCA Brava Award winner, which is nothing to shake a stick at. So is Lauren Rabin, by the way. And then we also have Carol Zarilli. Carol is a lifelong Greenwich resident. She served on the RTM for about 15 years from District 1, and then moved to Glenville, and has served on the RTM and the RTC for the past 15 years. And then, so I always like to call it, we've got Lauren Rabin and a bunch of kick butt ladies and Steve.
It sounds like a powerful team.
It's a really powerful team. I mean, my family's been in Greenwich for many generations. I come from a family of service. My father was the fire chief of the town of Greenwich and was the emergency management director, who passed away suddenly a couple of years ago, while preparing the town for a hurricane. One of the things that he and my mom instilled in both my brother and I was, we've been given so much by this town, that it's our job to give back. Both my brother and I are Eagle Scouts. And there's a saying in scouting that I really like to refer to in politics. It says character counts. And I think as we're going through this primary season, ending obviously, next Tuesday, at 8 p.m. when the votes are tallied, we need to remember as we're going to the polls, as we're talking to people, character counts. And it's us as Republicans that continue, especially with our slate, that continue to show good character and caring and commitment of this town. I served on the RTM for 6 terms. I was vice chair of Transportation Committee, vice chair of the Budget Overview Committee. I ran a number of Peter Tessie's campaigns, and actually Patty DeFelice, one of our running mates, also ran Peter Tessie's first race as first selectman in 2007. I've run races for Fred Camillo, Livy Florin, Leora Levy, our Republican National Committee woman, Linda McMahon when she was running for Senate. I worked for her. She's a former cabinet member under President Trump. I've served in many, many roles in local, state, and national politics.
So Steve, can I ask you a question? Is being a newbie at politics going to hurt you in this primary?
I do have some concern about that. But I think it's again, I know Mike Hahn talked about kind of the diverse viewpoints that his slate has, and that the 27 of us who are running together as the unity ticket for the RTC have. It's not necessarily that we're very much different in our policy beliefs. I think that, if we were to go down the line and talk about every single issue, we're probably in agreement between 85% to 95% of the time. And I think it's so important that all of us who are involved in politics or government remember that my 85% friend is not my 15% enemy. And I think we're seeing a lot that it's, if you don't agree with us 100% of the time, then that means you're against us 100% of the time. And that's what I think us, with our positive attitude, are trying to really bring back to the Republican Town Committee here in Greenwich. Absolutely. We're trying to bring back civility. We're trying to bring back real leadership. And we're also trying to bring back the fact that we, again, are the big tent party. Everyone is welcome.
We have to be able to have communication. We have to have dialogue, discussions, all that sort of stuff. But thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Steve. Tim was nice enough to bring our program back on for this important primary edition. So it was a great conversation with everybody. Tim, thank you very much. We try to keep this to a half hour so it's a little easier for people to digest. So I love the enthusiasm everybody expressed. Get out to vote on March 5th. Make sure you vote for the people. Well, vote for the people you believe will do the best job. And I'm biased, but I believe it'd be our crowd. But really vote who you think is best. I'm not telling you not to vote who you think is best. Do that. But the representation will be of yours if you show up to vote. If you do not show up to vote, then there'll be somebody else's vote that has them representing them in the RTC. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll keep working and making the calls, and see everybody on the 5th, March 5th, for the election, for the primary. Thanks, everybody. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I just wanted to reach out or just say one more thing that I've been scrolling the website address on the bottom, united-rtc.org. And I'll just show that off real quick because I think it's fantastic. It's full of some great information, everything that we talked about, but even more in-depth little bios about everybody that's running and how to do that next week on March 5th. So that's a great informative little site that you've put together there. And I thought that was fantastic when you sent it to me. And I said, we have to go over this live. So I'm glad you did. And good luck to everybody. And I'll definitely be out there supporting you all.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
you, Tim. Thank you
Thanks,
for
Tim.
having us.
Mike Bocino didn't convince you not to vote for District 4 slate, did he?
Well, that's why he jumped off early. He didn't want to say anything that would change my mind.
Good. So we have your vote. We'll tick you into the box of secured voter. Thank you, Tim. Thanks,
That's right.
everybody. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.